So, for instance, if I was going to look at the number, like let's look at an example here of 6x. One way to factor out 6x is you could just rewrite this as 3 times 2x. That is an example of factoring. I rewrote the expression as a product of two factors, two terms or numbers that divided into 6x. All right, but we're not really going to be doing too much of using factoring with monomials. We're basically going to be doing factoring with binomials and polynomials and so forth. So for instance, let's look at another one. So I'm going to go over two examples of factoring. And basically what I'd like to do is we're going to practice a whole bunch of factoring today. And then the next two classes, or then for the rest of the chapter, we're going to do solving. And then we'll be done. But basically, in this example, we're trying to rewrite this as a product. So what we want to do is determine what they have in common. So when we do that, what you're going to do is identify what we call the GCF. All right, and the GCF is pretty much identified as the greatest common factor, the number that divides into both of those terms. So what we want to do is identify what is going to divide into 3 and what is going to divide into 3x. And maybe we'll ask Tristan, what is a number or variable that divides into 3 and divides into 9x? 3. Is that the largest number that divides into 3 and to 9x? Is that the largest number? Yeah, it's the largest number, right? And basically, if you guys want to do a tip, look at what the smallest number is, the factors of that. That's obviously going to be the largest of the two, right? Because you can't have any number larger than 3 that's going to divide into 3. So your GCF is going to be 3. So when you are factoring out a 3, basically what you are doing is you are dividing out 3 from both of those terms. So when you divide it out, remember the purpose of this, ladies and gentlemen, is to rewrite it as a product. So if I'm dividing out, I'm going to rewrite this as 3 times. Now 3 times 3 is 1, and 9x divided by 3 is 3x. Anybody have any questions on that? Why I wrote the 3 on the outside? That always got a lot of students. Nobody has any questions with that? You guys are. So everybody's okay with why I wrote the 3 on the outside? Huh? Well, really nowhere. It's really understanding the process of factoring. If you divide something out, basically what I want you to understand is if you have the number 8, right? And you divide 8 by 4, your answer, your quotient is 2. Correct? So what I'm trying to tell you is if I was going to rewrite the number 8 as a product, if I was going to factor 8, I would take 4 times 2. Right? So you take whatever you divide by, multiply it by the quotient. So I'm dividing by 3, and then the quotient is what your answer is, which would be 1 plus 3x. Over in this example, our GCF, Lee, is going to be what? X. 7 and 5 do not have any common factors. And the highest power of x that you can divide into x squared and x is just going to be x. So I'll divide both terms by x, and I'm left with x times 7x plus 5. All right, so that's just the very, very basic of them. We're going to get into a little bit more complicated here in just a second. So we're not going to do difference of 2 cubes. Boom, boom. All right. Wow, okay. All right. So let's do 8 for m. 8m to the fourth plus 6m cubed minus 12m squared. So based on what I have done, why don't you guys go ahead and spend just a couple minutes and see if you guys can complete that problem. And then I'll go over it. Oops.